Welcome to the 8th edition of Canlandıranlar Film Festival. My name is Meriç. I'm now connecting from Barcelona. Now we will talk with Abi Feijó'yu today. He is in the jury of the festival this year. Welcome, Abi. Nice to see you.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for inviting me to this.
Thank you for joining. Thank you. It's nice to see you. We met with Abi during my stop motion master in BAU in Barcelona. He was the instructor of a master class, and now you are in Portugal. I'm still in Barcelona. It's nice to see you again. I know that you are working with objects like replacement and sand and cutout. No?
Very kind.
Yeah. I want to talk about a bit of your career. Like, how was your process of being an animator and becoming a producer after?
Oh, well, I started animation while I was studying at Fine Arts in Porto. Mm. And during my studies, there was a festival that started in a town really close to Porto, that is Espinho. And the festival is called Cinanima. And so I went to see the festival, and I was amazed by discovering that animation could be something much more richer than the TV series and Disney stuff that I was able to see at that time. So I discovered animation could be an art form, and so my interests when I was in the art school were more in the comics, and then I shift towards animation at that time. And so during the second Cinanima, there was a animation workshop with a Belgian teacher called Gaston Roque and the French association called Le Collodion Humide. And so I made my first steps there, and next year again, and the third year I was already organizing the workshops at Cinanima. And a little later I had the chance to make an internship at National Film Board of Canada while I worked with Pierre Hébert. He was making a film called Chants et danses du monde inanimé, Le Métro. So during this internship, I was able to do my first film it's called Ok Calma. And this film is, in 3 minutes, we have 8 different techniques. So I was willing to try different animation techniques because, and simple ones, things that I could be able to do when I will return back to Portugal, because I knew that at the time here, there was no facilities at all, no studios, no schools, anything. Mm-hmm. So I tried very simple techniques, and I enjoyed trying different techniques. And afterwards in my career, I go on trying different approaches. And today, some people ask me, what is your favorite technique? Mm-hmm. And I used to say, my favorite animation technique is to change techniques and each time face a new challenge. Mm-hmm. So that's why my films can be a little different from one to the other, because really I want to try new challenges. Mm-hmm. So a little later, I had the chance to have some fundings for a project that I had. It was based on a short story by a Portuguese writer that was called The Outlaws. And it's based on true events that take place in Portugal after the Spanish Civil War. And so with this project, I was able to start more professionally my experiments on animation, and built a small team around me. And at that time, I hired a producer. It was strange, right? Because I wanted to focus on my job, on my work, and I need somebody to take care of the other things, to run the team, to the finances, to whatever. There are a lot of many things around it. But it didn't went well. And short time after, I have to fire my producer. I hired a new one, and it didn't work okay. And at the third one was even worse. And at one moment I said, if I can't find somebody that really understands what I want to do, I had to do it myself. And so from doing the direction, I started seeing more and more producer roles. So during this process, the first studio I have was Filmógrafo, that was founded in 87, sorry. And it has a lot of problems, especially because of the way my last producer ran it. He didn't manage well the team, and all the relationships were very nasty. And so I had to close the studio and start a new one, smaller one, just for me and Regina, my wife. And that is called Cyclop Films, and that's the one we are working on today. So in the short terms, it was in meantime, during all these times, I have been doing workshops, especially with kids in schools. And sometimes I had a lot of more working on workshops, sometimes more on production, but sometimes more on direction. Lately, it's been the workshops that are taking over. I'm flooded with animation workshops with children, and yet when I'm doing the workshops, I try to do also different techniques, and it's also nice to see how kids react to different ways of working animation. Some in stop motion, some in drawing, some in many other techniques.
As a person who take your masterclass, I find you pretty pedagogic and creative and helpful. I can imagine.
Thank you. Now I try to explain things.
Okay, I want to also ask, how is the Portuguese animation scene? Like, as you said before, there was not so many productions or so many funding, but now how is it? I'm wondering that. And are the animation, like there are some animation courses or schools, and like stop motion, which like among the animators, what is the part of stop motion actually?
It all started after there was a change in the Portuguese Institute of Cinema in the 90s, 1890s, and they started supporting short animation films. That makes a break between what was coming before. And in this year, I was the chance to do this film I was talking about, The Outlaws, was one of the first to be founded. I've funds from government. And that allowed me to create a small team and to start working professionally on animation. And during all the 90s, the money available for animation grew steadily during all the 90s. And at the end of the 90s, it was all the people I knew that were animating in Portugal, they were all working on animation, and they were starting to have the needs of more collaborators. Because at that time, there was no schools at all in Portugal. So the first schools in Portugal started in the early 2000. And from that moment on, things have evolved again. Sometimes the financial crisis, economical crisis reflects, of course, on the animation. But today we still have some important funds from the Portuguese Institute of Cinema, and there are probably around 7, 8 short films supported each year. And that's more or less what the main thing that we have in Portugal. We have what I call more handicraft animation, not a really industry, because they're so small production houses, and each one makes very few films. But in terms of quality, there is quite interesting improves in the Portuguese animation lately. And there are a few animators that do really a good job and really interesting films. And also we have, in terms of feature films, feature animation, in our history, we have 2 films made. And there were 2 flops, totally flops. And currently, there are 2 other in production that I hope they will make a difference. Because these 2 directors have proved in the past they are much more interesting persons. They have a very interesting job, like José Miguel Ribeiro, for instance, that made a very nice stop motion film. And one of them is in stop motions, actually.
Yeah, it's exciting. I wonder what is the difference between, I'm gonna back to production topic, and what is the difference between being a producer in a big studio and being an independent producer like you?
My job is sometimes is very little, because I just need to try to fund some money to produce the film and hire a team to work. And I'll make all this bureaucratic stuff, and that all goes along to the project. The role of the producer on a European small studios are very different from the American big studios, when the role of the producer is the boss. He tells you what he wants you to do. Here we are more like a facilitator, to have the team together and try to have the conditions for the work to be done as good as possible. In my case, I also try to do the film. It's a way I try to do the film we want to do. And it's more important that the film, for me, is what we want to do, that to fit the film into the budget. And quite often that creates a lot of problems. Fortunately, we have been lucky enough to find international co-productions. But it's a really interesting thing, because we share experience. We learn a lot with this experience. And for the films that we want to do, we can split the job, and each one assumes part of the job. And therefore, with the money that I have in Portugal, I can find other money elsewhere. And splitting the job, it allows us our project to be more ambitious and bigger projects.
I was also going to ask about co-production, like since in your last film, like Regina's last film, Uncle Thomas, it was co-produced by Canada and France and Portugal, as I know.
Yes, we have been making co-producers since my first co-production was in '95 with John Hallas from UK. He wanted to have, he was making a series, about each film, each country would do his self-portrait, and he defined me to challenge me to do the Portuguese episode of that. So that was our international co-production. Unfortunately, John Hallas died during the process, and the series was not complete. But anyway, so then in 2000, I was doing my sand animation, and Pierre Hébert, with whom I've made my internship before, he saw my project. He became the head of the animation studio at National Film Board, and he promoted, "Don't you want to do a co-production with us?" And I said, "Of course." and so from that moment, almost all our films were international co-productions, mainly with Canada. Of course, that have been present in many, I think 5 or 6 co-productions that I've been making with National Film Board of Canada, and with also countries as well, like France. We have co-produced at least 2 films with Folimage. This last film was with Les Animateurs. In Switzerland with GDS, by the studio of George Schwitzgebel. And also we have 2 co-productions with Germany, with the film builder. One film in stop motion, that is Emilia and Duarte, and another film that is Altoting from Andrea Zicade. And also we have another co-production with England with the Paul Bush, also in stop motion. So all these co-productions, as I saying, is challenges, and it's very, very interesting. One of the things I enjoy to have a co-producer in our projects is we have somebody that has a distance to your project, but it's also concerned with the project. So the fact that we are a little distant allow us to have a fresh look at the project.
It's very interesting.
And, this fresh look allows to see more easily the weakness of the project. And sometimes when we work with precise and detailed storyboards, it's possible for the co-producers to see, to imagine the film that we want to see, and say, "Oh, in this part here, I don't understand what you mean."
Okay.
And so we know that there's a problem there that we have to solve. This is very important. And in other parts, you can say, "Oh, this I understood it long before," so you can go much faster. You can cut some scenes, and it gets stronger. So this aspect of the co-production is also very interesting, because it allows us to make projects that are better projects and stronger projects.
It could be really hard to be critical on your own movie.
Yeah, because we are so inside. We know why we made each little detail, but it's not always granted that the people who see the film will understand our intentions. And that's why to have this look at somebody that has some distance can help us doing that, achieve that.
Yeah, I want to ask also, like an individual or independent storyteller, an animator, what are the benefits of having a producer? Like you already said some things, but like in which point an animator have to have a producer?
Well, it depends a lot. There's many cases that an animator can do his own producer. It depends the size of the project, the ambitions, and if you want to do it alone, or if you want to have a team, if you need to have a team for your film. That makes a big difference, right? again, if I take the example of my film, The Outlaws, it was a film that came out with around 14 minutes. But when I started doing the film, I didn't have any structure. I didn't have a producer. I didn't have a team. I didn't have money to do the film. And I tried to have money. I knocked the door at the TV, the Institute of Cinema, the Gulbenkian Foundation, or the institution that in Portugal could bring some money to animation film, and none of them opened the doors. And so at that time I thought, okay, I will do my film in my free time, and I will do it. And I start doing it actually, and I take notes. Oh, today I work 8 hours. Oh, today I could only 2 hours. And when I finished the first scene, I made an accounting, say, oh, if I took this rhythm, how long should I need to finish my film? 20 years. So I said, there's no use to try to do the film by myself. Either I have a team or I will never finish the film. So, and to have a team, I need money. And to have money, I need somebody to find the money. And to find the money, to build a team, to make all this paperwork, I needed to have a producer. But if I could do the film by myself, maybe I would not need to have a producer. But in Portugal, if you want to have money from the government, you has to have a producer. They will not give the money to the director. They have to,
in Turkey it's the same.
They have to give the money to a producer that is responsible for the money, and so you are obliged to have a producer here.
Okay, and you would be maybe taken more serious from the jury, from
the seriousness. It's depend of the persons. There can be very responsible directors and very irresponsible producers. So it's not a question of the title. It's the person who assumes that responsibility.
Okay. Another topic, as we know that you transform your house into a museum, animation museum. It's very interesting.
Well, I inherit a big house. It's a huge house, and it's very hard to keep it. As a second house, it would be impossible. So I had to move and lived here. And even like that, it's too big for us. So we share this house and the property with a Canadian couple that is Normand Roger and Marcy Page, also well-known people from the animation world. And to help us dividing the expenses of the house, and so we can keep this. But it was still a lot of space. And one thing that and this is in the middle of a farm as well, and I'm no farmer. So what I've been doing all my life was connected with animation. So I thought, well, we have a lot of drawings from our stuff, from our own productions. We have been exchanging drawings and things with other animators from all over the world. So we have a collection that could be interested to do a museum. Also, my personal interests, I get more and more interested in pre-cinema stuff, all the optical toys and all the devices that deal with the illusion of motion and the history of film, that I also have been collecting some of these objects. And so we decided to have a part of our house, 3 rooms that are a permanent collection. And that's why we opened this museum. And as one activity of the museum that started to be more a parallel activity, but it's something that I've been doing for a long time, is the animation workshops with kids. Here in the town hall, they like the idea, they support the idea, and I've been doing more and more workshops. I started with 1 or 2, and this year I had 22 to make. And that, I don't know how I will find time to fit these 22 into the frame of the weeks, because each workshop takes at least 20 hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit how things are working here.
Mm-hmm.
We also have more things, more stuff than those who can fit in our 3 rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And so we also organize exhibitions that we can present it in different places. And so we have a few exhibitions with complementary materials that we can present in different places.
Mm-hmm.
Bem-vindos à Casa Museu de Vilar. Um pequeno museu dedicado à magia da imagem animada. Uma coleção de objetos interativos do pré-cinema. A arte de Regina Pessoa e de Abi Feijó'yu. E a animação internacional. Esperamos vê-los por cá, brevemente.
Okay. You are producing Regina Pessoa's film as well, which is your partner, and
Yes.
working together. I was wondering.
Yes, that's the point when we created Cyclop films, was keep it small. And keep it small was meant to be able to produce Regina's films. Okay. That was our main goal for Cyclop films. Mm-hmm. We have faced very dramatic phase on the end of Cyclop films. These things were economically a disaster. And because one of the reasons why we tried to grow too fast, and it was difficult, because if we want to do the films as we like to do the films, normally it takes longer than what we expect. And if it takes longer, it costs us more money. Mm-hmm. And if we privilege the film instead of the money, it becomes a problem to find the extra money. And if we manage one film, it's possible to find ways of dealing this little difference. But if we are trying to do 8 films at a time, it's 8 problems. It's one problem 8 times. And that became too much. So we said, let's keep it small. Let's not try to do much things, just one film at a time. And that's what we try to do. But sometimes it's not easy to stay small. And we have been proposed to participate in other projects, or myself, I propose projects to other people. And I've been doing co-production as well of other people's films, like the film Ride by Paul Bush. That was a film that the original, the original is his technique, the way he do animation by replacement, that makes me think of an idea apart, because I have a neighbor that has a huge collection of motorbikes. And I said, Paul, this is a good idea for your next film. And so we came together with this idea, and we put the film together, and it went okay. It was amazing the way he works, because he told me, Abi, we'll need 3 weeks shooting from 9 to 5 or 6, 9 to 6, Saturdays included. And the shooting finished 15 minutes ahead of schedule. So it was a very good.
Yes, perfect. Very punctual.
So it went okay. Another co-production we have a little before that, sorry, it was Amelia Duarte. It was one former student of mine in Porto, that she had a project that she had presented in Annecy, and she had got the attention of Folimage, that they have this artist in residence program.
Yes.
They picked this project as an artist in residence project. And as we have been doing 2 other co-productions with them, they, oh, this is a Portuguese girls, it's in your town. Why don't you co-produce the film with us? And I said, oh, well, I'm prepared not to expand. I have a very small structure, but I couldn't say no, because we had already 2 films that they participated in our own projects. And so I said, okay, let's do it. And in a short time, we were able to join Folimage, National Film Board, and Portuguese Institute on the same project. But then what's happened? Economical crisis in 2011. All the support from Institute of Cinema was not extinguished, but was suspended. And it was suspended for over 1 year. And our co-producers said, we can't hold it longer. We can't hold it longer. And they stepped out of the project. And I was supposed to be a minority co-producer in this project. I get it alone in my hands. Fortunately, Film Builder liked the project, and if could find some money in Germany, and he helped us doing that film. So that was Amelia Duarte. And later it was about Uncle Thomas, the last film, Regina last film, and she met Andrea Zicade, also from Film Builder, and he helped her writing and organizing the script of the film. So he's a script advisor on Regina's film, but in exchange, we took part as a co-producer in his own film that is just released. It's called Alterting. So Regina makes some designs and textures for part of the Andrea's film. So it was this really interesting exchange between our 2 studios. And lately we are on a new co-production, this time with Canada and with Marcy Page, our partner here. And so she's doing a film that is in a crazy technique. Crazy technique. She wants to do animated tiles. So she's painting the tiles, she's firing the tiles, and then we'll do the film shooting in stop motion.
Cool. It sounds really ambitious.
So that's the project we have in our hands for the moment.
Great.
As a co-production.
Power to you. And Uncle Thomas succeed a lot, no? Like I watched it in Annecy and it was amazing, and it's won the jury prize in Annecy and shortlisted in Academy Awards. Congratulations, was.
Yeah, and the Annie Award for the short film as well.
Yes, Annie Awards as well.
Yes, and the Grand Prix in Anima Mundi. So
Yes.
it has over 34 awards today. And unfortunately, with all these pandemic prizes, many festivals are suspended or cancelled. And yeah, but anyway, the film is going okay.
I will also share the trailer with the audience.
Dear Uncle Thomas, whatever you did fascinated me. But there were mysteries and shadows in your life. Lost in the numbers and obstinate in the calculations, you were hoping to find the error.
And Abi, as a jury, you watch a lot of films this year in Canlandıranlar Film Festival, no?
I am still watching them, and I still need to see over 20 films yet. It's been challenging because I have been a lot of work lately, and I don't have time to see all of them. I have to try to see them during this weekend.
Which kind of films you watched so far? Like, what is the perception and comment about them?
It's difficult because there's still many to come. So, as in a festival, there's always a lot of options, a lot of direction, a lot of techniques, even many different ideas and approaches, of course. Some I feel more close to them than others, but naturally each one has his own tastes. And I used to say that what makes the difference in festivals is the different opinions of people, of the jury members, because otherwise it will be the same film that will win all the festivals. So, and if the film of Uncle Thomas has won special prizes in Annecy and Anima Mundi and Annie's and so on, there has been a lot of other festivals where it was not even selected. So this is the most interesting thing in one of the characteristics of the festivals is this eclectic selections and that's also what made me wanted to do animation was when I participated in one festival, because I discovered some parts of the animation that was closer to my heart and to the things I like the most. And it's at that time mostly it was a way that in 1 week you could see the best of the world. What is going on in the world at that moment. And this is an incredible opportunity, right? Because what is films from all over the world, you have them here 1 week and you all are all there. So it's for good and for worse, it's what they do. And to be, if you work on this field, it's very important that you are aware of what is going on, what other people are doing at the same time. Otherwise, you may have the feeling that you are inventing the wheel again. So, but there's many people who have already made that. So it's very important to have this culture of the animation. This is one of the main reasons that festivals are made for, is to give you that panorama of the world production, concentrated in the, of course, from the eyes of the selecting committee, of course, but anyway, it is an amazing opportunity. That is, this is one part that I appreciate very much in festivals, and the other part is what we can't do now. That is this meeting with people. These animators spend most of their time alone, or focused in this very lonely and confined work. Right? And so when they finish a film, they need to be with the others. They need to exchange experience, to speak with them, to go out of the studio. And that the main thing that a festival is. I remember a few years ago, I spent the entire week at Annecy Festival. I saw 3 screenings because all the time I was connecting with people, meeting with these, with them, and with another one. And it was so intense that I didn't find time to see the screenings, right? And it was all these contacts that I established little by little during the years, going to festivals, that allowed me to find my professional work, my professional way. And if I'm doing co-productions today, it's because of those contacts. It's because in these festivals where I meet people, where we exchange projects, we exchange ideas, and maybe not today or tomorrow, maybe in 10 years from now. If I'm sharing this house with Norma and Marcy, I met Marcy first time in Zagreb in '88. So over 20 years or 30 years later, we came to share this house. In Zagreb, who would think about it? So that's this, and I found that animators are quite generous sharing their experience. I really don't feel the same when I go to a live action festival.
No. Animation, maybe it's not that competitive. And it's...
No, Regina used to say that animation doesn't have money. So there's not power there. And so people are more willing to share their experience because there's not the money and power, they are not in stake. So while in cinema, in the industry, there are much more secrecies and
money.
keeping things close to them. Oh, I can't tell them otherwise. No. Animators are quite generous, generally.
Okay. I want to ask you, do you have some recommendation for people who make short films by their own?
Give it up.
As soon as possible.
Well, what I mean is, in a way, animation work is the new slavery. You work extra hours for little pay. If you are willing to do this job, you have to have a lot of patience, a passion to do that, and commitment, and be willing to do this because it's what you want to do, despite of if you will be one day, if you are going to be rich or not, because probably you will not be rich, but you have the satisfaction to do what you want to do. And so you need to have that passion to do the things. And with passion, things happen. When I made my internship at National Film Board of Canada, the most important thing I learned for me was just a little back, When I started animation in the workshops with this Belgian teacher, Gaston Rock, he was very picky on all the little details of animation. And he used to say, well, here is a problem, here's another problem. I was doing my animation, I was getting afraid of animating because, oh, that's so complex. But when I get to the National Film Board, I came with my anxiety there, and they said, what happened? To move the things, they always move. Even a kid can move the things. What's your problem? To move the things is the easiest way. But if you commit yourself to the project and if put all you got, people will see the film, they will feel that. But if you do always the same thing, all the routine, and you don't put yourself much into the film, they also will notice that. So it all depends on you, what you are willing to put into the films. If you put your guts into the films, people will feel it. If you put your 9-to-5 work job and that you are eager to go out of your job, they will also see that.
Yeah, it's a good point. And for the last question, what is your message for all animators and animation lovers in the world and in Turkey?
We live in very problematic times, and there's huge problems coming ahead of us. And if you are an artist, you should take that into consideration in your work. And you should think that film is not neutral. Whatever you do you are taking a statement, and think of the statement and the message you want really to pass in your work. And that's also, I think, that what makes, and think what is the importance of your work, why it is important.
Like what you want to tell them, what is the...
Because I have seen many films that I don't see the purpose of the film. Sometimes it's just making a film for fun. It's also interesting. But if you see a film for fun, you see it once. The second time, you don't think it's so funny. The third time, but if you have a film that you have a message, maybe you will not reach everybody because there's so many different people that you can't speak to everybody. You just pick up the people that choose the people you want to say your message. But tell it the best way you can.
Okay, Abi, thank you very much for answering all the questions and joining.
Well, bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you too, Ella. Oh, it's nice to see you.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you.